upon you. Welcome to another one of my weekly happiness shows. So, what did I just say a minute ago? Peace be upon you. So, I love to start the show with that because it's an ancient way of saying hello in a really meaningful way, shared between the Abrahamic faith, that's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And especially people living in the Middle East totally know that because that's how they say hello to each other a lot of the time. And it's really meaningful because it's like truly meaning, I wish you have inner peace. I promise you that I won't say anything bad to you. It has a lot of meanings like that. So that's how I like to start the show. And also, happy Friday! You made it to the end of the week. Maybe that sounds a bit weird, but again, the Abrahamic faiths all like to have one day to seriously celebrate. So Friday, Muslims celebrate, Jews celebrate Saturdays, and Christians celebrate on Sundays, where they chill out a little bit of family time, together time. That's what religions are all about. So that's just a little bit of some happiness truths thrown in there straight away. That togetherness is happiness. One thing that we sorely miss in our modern lifestyles. Let me tell you a few more things about this show. First of all, it's a Q&A, question answer. I really want to interact with you. That's why I make it live. I really want to hear things that in other places you might feel like shy to say, or you might say it's not politically correct. I think it's so important nowadays for people to say what's on their mind in a polite way if they can, but like just, don't worry about it too much. I won't get upset. I'm really into hearing controversial ideas. Okay, what else is there? So that's really important. It's about helping societies heal and get together and you be united by talking, sharing your different points of view. What else? Yeah, so I will be talking about happiness ideas through different spiritual traditions, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, whatever, Hinduism, whatever I can pick up. I'm really looking forward to anybody else joining me in the show, and like from a different, background or faith or no faith, atheist, doesn't matter what. If you feel like you've got something to share, that would be awesome. And yeah, this is a weekly show every Friday, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Join in. What do I normally talk about? The intro's almost over, don't worry. I just feel like there are some things, basics to quickly cover. So the happiness show talks about everything to do with life, everything from the environment to finding your purpose to does God exist, to economics. I've covered a lot of different things and I can just always go back to them. And then the last thing I want to talk about is this wheel, which is on that side. Okay, what's happening with the wheel? One of my viewers thought it would be cool to have a spinny wheel to choose what topic to talk about next. And I thought, okay, cool, let's try that. And people seem to like it, so that will stick. And my point in mentioning that is this is kind of your show. I really want to get topics from you. The topics today are from the viewers. And so what's happening with the spinny wheel, there's 3 main parts, 20 minutes roughly each part. One is the red one is about loss. So when you lose somebody, if you lose a loved one, how do you learn from it? So that's this could be some really interesting bits of wisdom gained from people who've lived life, and at the end of it, and maybe they've got to share something with us from their experience. It kind of makes sense. Then there's God. So I'm just putting one word per topic because you can't really fit it on that spinny thing if you want to be able to read it as well. So there's some fun questions there. And I think kind of topics that I've been missing, which is like really trying to understand our place in the world. And when I say fun things, like so one of the viewers gave me a whole list of questions relating to our communication with God, and even like what does God do for fun and stuff like that. So I'm open to lots of very interesting questions like that. I think that's really important. I'm sure when for me, that is the core of everything else. Like without some sort of moral compass or core to everything I do, all the other stuff, when I talk about things personally, it kind of doesn't make sense without God. And so that's interesting. Maybe for other people, atheists, whatever, they'll say it doesn't matter at all. And lastly, I'm done with my intro, almost done with my intro. This is not just about faith, it's about like exploring logically these different ideas, and everybody comes to their own conclusions at the end. That's cool. I think there's a lot of value though in a increasingly unhappy society to share some of these ideas and see if they work. So let's get on with it. So I'm gonna spin that spinner. Cool. So I have a question already. Now, oh, I didn't explain the question mark bit, which is in orange. That is the random questions time. So I'm going to take the random questions at that time. And this question, which has already come up, let's have a quick look. It pops up here. I haven't pressed that button before. Why do we say things we want in Salat? So this is a Muslim asking the question. Salat is the formal part of, one of the 5 daily prayers, if you've heard of them, for Muslims. Jews have something similar. They do it 3 times a day. When God already knows what you want. Cool. That will be for the first part. Let's just see what comes up. Let's spin that spinner. So I need to get to the right screen. Yeah, let's click the spinner, see what happens. Oh, I was supposed to. So I'm going to keep that spinner on there. One of the other benefits of this spinner is it tells people what we're talking about at the moment. So Muhammad Abeda, one of my old students from the Middle East, or Jordan, hey, back to you too, just reading your comment. If you've got a question, if you've got a random question, please do ask. I have tried to get a whole bunch of children to line up and ask questions to fill this spot. So if you're ready with your question, now is the time. Please go for it. Okay, so let's I'll spend about 3 minutes on each question. Let's go for it. Why do we say things we want in Salat? Okay, let's put it back up again. So everybody can kind of read it and concentrate on it. Why do we say things we want in the Muslim prayer, the formal Muslim prayer? So there's kind of these, most of it is like these standard words that you use when God already knows what you want. Okay, so let me break up this very, very good question. So first of all, when you say those things, the idea is, so what kind of things do Muslims say? They say, thank you, God, who has, so it starts with something like this. Thank you, God, for all praise belongs to God, who is the sustainer of our world, basically, like in easier words, like who keeps us alive and recycles our water with the clouds and the mountains and all that kind of stuff, and does lots of nice stuff for us. So thank you, God, all thanks belongs to him. Not so, yeah, that kind of stuff. So when we say that, it's really for us. And so a lot of the people who are good at understanding how our brains work, psychologists, are telling us being thankful is really good for you. So in short, whatever God says is good for you. God doesn't need anything from you at all. So, and I said to myself, next time I'm going to keep trying to quote things that religious teachings say, so it's not just from me. So it's easier for me to quote from Islam. And but one thing I quickly like to mention about Islam is a religion that kind of, well, it's a religion that says you have to accept all other religions. So it's a weird religion that is, how can I say it, I don't want to say all encompassing, I'm trying to use smaller words, but basically it accepts all other religions. So if Islam says something, there's a good chance it's similar in other religions as well. So anyway, um, so yeah, so one thing that God teaches in the Quran, which is the guide for life for all human beings, including Muslims, is that when we sacrifice, there's a celebration where we sacrifice some sheep, and give it to poor people and things like that. And God says that meat does not reach me; it's just your good deeds. So the point I'm trying to make, I'm trying to unclick from something, that like there's nothing that God receives directly from you. There's no benefit that God needs. It's just the good deeds that He wants to see from you, your good intentions. So that's the point of the salat. It's all for your sake. So this salat or this Muslim prayer is 5 times a day. And a lot of people who become Muslim, they love it because it's a way like meditation to take time out for yourself and relax a little bit. Maybe if you're very young, you might not realize that you need to relax. You might not want to relax. When you get older and you're doing lots of serious stuff all the time, it's really nice to do that. And also there's so many other good things. It reminds you what you're waking up in the morning for, why you're doing things. That is really important. Yeah, as I say, as you get older, why you're doing things becomes really important. Again, these people called a psychologist who knows how at least grown-up brains work. They say you have to know what you're doing, your purpose, otherwise you feel really sad. So that's a quick answer. Hopefully that was useful. Let me see. Oh, cool. I got a question from my much older student who's studying medicine, I think. So is what is this life all about? I love this question. Okay, so we can find people find different reasons for themselves, but if, for example, there's different ways of looking at it, but if, for example, we realize God must exist, and just to in a short way, you can say mathematically or statistically, God must exist. It's just like almost impossible for God not to exist. And we can talk about that with anybody who wants to talk about that, or maybe want me to explain further about that. So once we accept that God exists and He's your creator, like you might be the creator of, I don't know, a phone or something, maybe one day, then because you're the creator, you know what makes it work best. You don't want to put your phone inside water, maybe, or just put a sledgehammer, bash it up for no reason. So in the same way, but in a more delicate way, human beings are, what makes us happy is like actually based on really delicate things. So a lot of reasons why people are really unhappy nowadays is because they don't realize human beings inside their minds and their emotions or spirit they is based on lots of really delicate things. So people have been trying to take drugs and you know trying to get really excited about stuff, going to football matches and jumping up and down or whatever, and for some reason that's not really making them happy. It makes them happy for a little bit, or winning the lottery, but those things overall make you unhappy. And so what the purpose of life is to find something that really makes you happy. And what religions teach, and it seems to fit with psychology, is that we need to find something really meaningful to do with our lives. And what is the most meaningful thing you could do? And that is like, you know, you're going to live on this planet only for 80 years. That might seem long, but any sort of purpose that depends on just life on in this world can't be that meaningful, because say you make your meaning, your personal meaning, to be a billionaire or a trillionaire or whatever it is, you're not going to take that money with you when you die. So it kind of is a very temporary thing. So what God teaches is the thing that sits with us human beings the most, and it sits with all psychological tests and things, is to basically be really good, and not just be really good in a meaningless way. What Islam, for example, teaches is that you should do something called ibadat, which sounds a bit like abaydat. I'm not sure if there's the same root. Maybe, Mohammed, you can explain to me. So ibadat, what it means is to let go of your free will and to be at one with God. And what at one with God actually in practice means, because this is what the Quran keeps asking you to do, is to do good deeds, selfless good deeds. Let go of your personal will and do things for other people, and do that at the same time while remembering God. So you're not randomly doing good things. You are doing good things to please God, to be at one with God. And psychologists have found, for example, that when you do all these things that religion teaches you, like to be really generous and things like that, that's what really makes us happy. So I don't know if that explains it. So maybe a summary version of the answer would be to be at one with God. It's like being at one with nature, and being at one with nature doesn't just mean being idly just there like a vegetable. It's like a really active thing, like you just help people, be kind to people, and you will find that you will become happier and happier, and that's a good sign that you've chosen the right direction for your life. So that would be what life feels all about: to let go of your ego, which is your selfish desires, and do stuff for other people, and try to connect with God, who's, I mean, what else could you do greater than connect with God? So they're kind of two sides to the same thing. The Quran keeps saying, if you want paradise in this life, even in this life, be at one with God and do good deeds. That's it. So I hope you like that. Please tell me if you have any other opinions. Let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, assalamu alaikum. Sorry, I couldn't see what it says. That means peace be upon you in Arabic. It's very much like so that's what Muslims say, and Christians in the Middle East also say, and it's very similar to what Jews say, which is Assalamu alaikum, which is pretty much the same thing, means exactly the same thing. So peace be upon you too. Thank you for that message. Okay, cool. Another question. I like it. Appreciate it. So when is the day of judgment? So that's a great question. So let's give some background. What is this thing called the day of judgment? It's sometime way in the future, who knows when, and it's what most religions teach, that there will be some sort of time when all the souls that ever lived will be told, like, this is what you did good, this is what you did bad, and you're off to heaven or hell and that kind of stuff. And so when you say a day of judgment, I think it's supposed to be like, it's not your usual length of day, because a day in normal sense is, for us on earth, is like, how long it takes for it to go from night to day, and there won't be any sun. This will be like no universe left. So I think I read at some point, or heard at some point, It's the length of like 50,000 days or years or something like that. So it's pretty long. You might think that's really boring, but we already know, for example, that we can squeeze and stretch time. The way we've experienced time depends on how much fun we're having and things like that. So I don't think it'll be boring, but there's a whole bunch of other questions that might come up in that interesting question, when is the day of judgment? Like, say, what happens to you in between from now and the day of judgment? Like, you die now, and then say maybe in a billion years time the day of judgment might happen. I'm not sure when. And then you'll be, what you're going to do in between. So you're going to be really bored in that time. Will you be alive at all? So in the case of Islam, what we're told is that there's a stage in between that you do experience some level of heaven or hell straight away. And so that everything, the way, and you experience heaven and hell even in this life. And so, and let's think about this logically. Do people not experience some sort of heaven and hell in this life when they do good deeds or have a habit of doing good deeds? They experience kind of a perfect, how's the word, a constant happiness. And those people who are really selfish, they tend to be more miserable, even though they've made loads and loads of money and stuff like that. And there's lots of evidence for that, like including people who like won the lottery and really rich people. There was a great movie called All the Money in the World with one of the richest people ever to live, and he was asked the common question that lots of other rich people have been asked, like, how much do you need? And he always said more, because he was never happy. Anyway, so maybe that's a bit of a sidetrack to the question, but we experience heaven and hell all the time, and even on our deathbed, like after you die, it's not really like the end of our life. It's just another change to our state. It's just like when you were in your mummy's belly in the womb, you had one sort of life there, and then you were born, and then you had a different life. So when you're in your mummy's belly, you thought that was the whole universe, and then you come out, and then you realize there's a very different universe, and you're actually a very different sort of creation. Like, you didn't really breathe air, as far as I understand, when you're in your mummy's belly. So things like that. So when you die, you do lose this physical body, but the way I understand it, your deeds are really affect you, and that's kind of part of my intro, what I was saying earlier on. Every deed you do really affects you. It doesn't just escape from you. It's somehow stuck to your soul. And so when you die and you lose the body, the only thing you have left are those deeds. They're stuck to you. If you're evil deeds, it's like you're experiencing hell. And if you have good deeds, those are kind of like your new body. Your deeds will become like your body. And if you have good deeds, you experience good feelings. It's just to finish off the question, if you're a sick person, if you've got physically a sick body, then you don't feel good. Yeah. So in after death, or at least getting rid of this stage of life, when you move on to the next stage, you just become more aware or more sensitive to your past good deeds or bad deeds. And so there's kind of like, you're not really waiting around just for a day of judgment. You are constantly either in a state of heaven or hell. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next question. I'm supposed to spend about 3 minutes per question. I think I should spin the wheel now. It says 24 past. So I really appreciate everybody's questions. That was really nice of you. Let me scroll down just in case I missed something. So what I'm going to do that I didn't do last time. So each time I'm learning how I should do this show. What I should do is now get rid of this, and now press the spinner. Oh, let's turn this. Cool. So we are going to talk about God now. And I've got a whole bunch of really interesting questions, and I'm just going to go through them. But before I do, because I really want this to be like, comparing all the different ideas that you get from different religions. And I say comparing, you'll probably find that there's a lot that's really similar. So let's quickly go through some quotes that I found. Let me see, what have I got? Yeah, I've got Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, Jesus. You might say, why do you say Jesus, not Christianity? Maybe I'll talk about that in a second. You can call it Christianity. Anyway, so Islam, what does it say about God? And when my servants ask thee about me, this is a quote from the Quran, the religious book of Muslims. And when my servants ask thee about me, that is God, say, I am near. I answer the prayer of the person when he prays to me. I kind of tried to use easier English in the translation, but it kind of failed. So they should listen to me and believe in me, so that they may follow the right way. Let me try to paraphrase that. Maybe put it on. Oh, you know what? As soon as I start, what's it called? Using all these fancy gizmos with the things on the screen, I forget to change to the next. Oh, cool. Oh, sorry, I missed a question from the other one. Maybe I'll do it next time. Sorry about you missing your question, as is Allah everywhere, but is he inside you? I'll do that maybe next time. So here's a quote. I'm just going to put all the different quotes. That's Islam. Basically, it's saying that God listens to you. He's very near. He's not far away or remote or distance from you. He's like a close friend. If you listen to him, so that's the whole. Listen to him. God is not a him or her, really. We just one of the default words used to describe God, who is not male or female. But anyway, so the whole point of, I'll just talk about it very quickly. It says, my servant. That means somebody who listens to God. Okay, then I am close to you. If you listen to me, I am close to you, and I answer your prayers. I answer your prayers, and the whole point of answering your prayers so that you might come even closer to me, and for your own benefit, listen to me and follow the right way, meaning the way that makes you happier. Let's copy the next one. Buddhism. Here we go. Let's paste that in. See how that comes out. If I click on that. Okay, Buddhism. Your mind is nirvana. Okay, so it's a bit tricky sometimes because some religions say that like we don't really believe in God, but actually Buddhism has got different kinds of groups in it, and so in some ways the Tibetan Buddhists do practice a sort of belief in God, or they worship something. So we can talk about that in some way, but anyway, let's just talk about, let me read this one out. Your mind is nirvana. So this is the closest thing I could get in I don't know, whatever, normal Buddhism or something that you get in the West. So your mind is nirvana. So nirvana is kind of like this kind of escape to like heaven, maybe. As long as you look for Buddha somewhere else, you will never see that your own mind is the Buddha. So basically, everything is in your mind, and don't look for happiness outside it. And that's the closest thing I could get to anything to do with God. So they kind of this understanding is sort of one our understanding of Buddhism is one that says there's kind of no God, it's all in your mind. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. So you got Judaism. Let's copy that. I will talk about this all the stuff in a minute. I just thought it'd be really nice to do lots of quotes. Maybe I won't do so many quotes next time if it takes too long. But anyway, Judaism, he who helps himself will be helped by God. So this is telling you something about the relationship between God and human beings, and Islam teaches pretty much the same thing. It says, there's two main qualities of God. One is that God who gives everybody lots of stuff, like everybody gets rain. Not only good people get rained on, or their gardens get rained on and stuff like that, but people who make an effort, they're given even more help by God, which kind of sounds fair, I think. So, yep, we got some agreement there. And then Jesus. Why did I say Jesus? Because Jesus said he was a Jew, but having said that, Jews say Jesus was not a prophet, but they don't deny that he was a Jew, I suppose. Let's put that in quickly. So click. So this is Christianity. Let's call it Christianity there. So, but I say to you, love your enemies. Have I put the right quote? Who knows? But I'll read it anyway. It's nice stuff. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. So Father basically means God. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. So this is pretty much the same thing as I just said, that in Islam, God is kind to everybody, but also it agrees with the other thing that I mentioned from the Judaism things, that God especially helps people who are make an effort, in all different ways, like spiritual ways and not spiritual ways, like making money. There's so much that I personally, as a Muslim, agree with from all these different faiths. Okay, so that's just a bit of background. Let's just jump into the different questions my friend asked or put. I do want to put something back. Let's put that there for now. Cool. Bigquestionsanswer.com. So all the stuff I know basically come from this website. Do check it out. It's got lots of nice free books and stuff. So let's get on with the questions. Does the Supreme Being take active day-to-day role with us? So is God basically alive? Is God interested and all this kind of stuff? So just using, let's say, the quote from Islam, God is actually very close. He's very much part of our lives if you want God to be part of your life. And I like to say that when I talk to all my different religious friends from different backgrounds, Christianity or whatever, Islam, we have a common experience that God is very much part of our lives when we try. So God is not like, oh, you've come from the wrong religion or this religion or that religion. We have this common experience that, if you believe in God and listen to God, then God actively takes a part in your life. And even actually, let's put it another way. You don't just have to believe, because God tries to give everybody a chance to experience God. And so I could tell lots of stories about that. I mean, I was an atheist for a bit. I had a very interesting experience of God. But let me start with when I was and changed my mind about not believing in God. Maybe I'll start with that, and then I'll move on to different experiences. Maybe that helps people. So I'll quickly do that experience, because I was thinking I should quote something from the Quran before I tell my experience, but let's just whatever. So I was an atheist for a bit, and I remember being in, let's make the story interesting and detailed, Waterloo Station, and I was convinced God did not exist. So Waterloo Station is a big, very important station in London. All the busy work people go there. And I was like, you know what, God? This is how I basically approached God. I said, I'm sure you don't exist. But you know what? I'm going to be humble for a minute, and I'm going to give you a chance. and I'm going to say, just maybe you do exist. And literally in a 0 seconds, this is just my personal experience, you don't have to believe it. I had this kind of all these weird, a whole bunch of ideas just thrown in my head, and they went something like, God logically does exist because there's not enough time in the world or the universe to have made all the amazing things that do exist. And that's actually quite true. Like, for example, hemoglobin should have taken many universes to be created, because just hemoglobin is a little bit of red stuff that goes in your blood. So you can't even make one red blood cell for the whole span of the whole universe. We're all like crazy, amazingly high-tech robots. Like, how would that have been made by a whole bunch of mistakes, And I'm not denying evolution. Islam teaches evolution. It's actually one of the first things God says about himself, that he's the evolver, the thing that creates in stages. It's in the Quran. So anyway, yeah. So does the Supreme Being take an active day-to-day role with us? So that's my experience. A lot of other people have that experience of having God in very much part of their lives. And I've given a quote from the Quran that talks about God listening or helping people who make an effort. But what about people who don't really make an effort, don't believe in God? So I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a big fan of studying entrepreneurs. And some of my biggest, let's call them heroes in certain ways, they've got their limitations as well. They've told stories, and they, like, at least one of my biggest, heroes, as it were, Richard Branson, told a story, and he's kind of very clear that he's an atheist and he doesn't believe in God. But if you read his life story, one critical part of it, he used to do a lot of really risky balloon journeys over the big oceans like the Pacific and stuff like that. And there was one point where he was sure that he was going to die. He was in a hot air balloon, but it's not like a normal hot air balloon because they're really high up. So he was in little capsules, kind of like it was all closed off, and it had all these little dials and things, like how much pressure there was. And basically, everything was going wrong. He was, I think he was going at hundreds of miles an hour or something. He was about to die, and he kind of gave up and somehow sort of went to sleep or something. And something weird, the way he described it is something strange took over his hot air balloon and controlled his hot air balloon miraculously, and he survived. Like, it's landed his hot air balloon safely. So you can check that up yourself, maybe. I'm sure you can find it on the internet. I think his book is called Screw It, Let's Just Do It, or something like that. That's one of his favorite things to say. Just go for it. So not, and I remember talking to a student. I'm a teacher. I'm a private tutor, and I remember there's one student who used to really like mocking God because he knew that I believed in God. And so I told him, everybody gets an opportunity to experience God. And then on that day, he thought for a minute and he said, yeah, that's true. Because then he kind of told his own story when he was lost in a forest doing the Duke of Edinburgh Award. And he's like really scared, like he was like lost in the middle of nowhere. And he said, I don't know which God is real, the God of Buddha, God of like Islam, whatever, don't care. Can you just help me? And then somebody tapped him on the back of the shoulder, and yeah. So, and then like out of nowhere, like, where did this person come from? And told him where to go. So that for him was like, and then after that, he never actually said anything rude about God. So I don't know why that stopped him if he already knew about it. But anyway, people learn different ways, I suppose. Okay, so yeah, let me just move on to the next bit. I'm trying to whiz through things. There's, you can jump in. Oh, I'm going to go back to the chat just in case people. So if you've got, I'm going to talk very briefly about all the different questions that my friend has come up with, and yeah, and then like I'm going to be open to questions. So if you've got questions or something you disagree with about the things I'm saying, just say so. Yeah. Yeah. So number 2, he says, or is the communication occasional? How involved does he get? So in Islam, there's a saying of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that when people listen to God a lot, then God becomes the feet with which that person walks, with the hands with which he strikes, the ears with which he hears, the eyes with which he sees. So basically, there's a constant. God is constantly with you, like as if he's never leaving you. And people, I myself have that experience, and I'm nothing particularly special. There's lots of things that I do wrong and I'm trying to work on. So you don't have to be particularly special. You just have to keep making an effort, I suppose. I mean, that's from my own experience. Yeah, so that's a quick answer. That wasn't always true. There were times when I felt like God was missing in my life, and that's because, very briefly, is because I wanted to literally hear God talk, and I was quite fixated on that, and I think that kind of distanced me from God. Like the kind of experience I get from about God, me personally, is just like anything I need, it just comes at the right time, that kind of stuff. So that's a quick answer. People can ask me more about it if they want. That's just me. That's the things that come to my head. First answer. This show is definitely not about me. So, but yeah. What else is there? What does he do is another question. Number 3, what does he do? So there's kind of like, I imagine the question is like, what does he do besides making the universe or keep it going? I suppose that's something that I didn't really answer as well. In the Quran, the whole universe is described as a glass palace. So I'm kind of answering like the first question as well. Like, does he take an active day-to-day role? Like, if you look at, so in the Quran, it says, the universe is like a glass palace under which there's a rushing river. And I always find it quite confusing to explain. I'm just going to quickly explain that it goes, what it's talking about is that God is like a power, the sort of invisible force that you don't quite see, because what you think is the real power. Like you might see, what might you see? I don't know, electricity. No, you don't really see electricity. You might see a car moving, but what is the power behind the car? Like petrol, but where's the power behind petrol come from? All these different things. There's a hidden power called God. So God is completely involved in our life. I think a much better one that the Quran picks up, points out, is that the Quran says something like, "Is it we who makes the clouds rain, or is it you?" And so it's referring to the water cycle and things like that. And you can, without a constant taking care of us, sustaining us, keeping us alive, we would easily die. So once we kind of become aware of all these things that God is doing to keep us alive, we're very aware that God is taking more than a day-to-day role in our lives. And what does he do besides taking a day-to-day role in our lives? Who knows? Is a quick answer. And also, let's there. So who knows? I think is a really useful answer, because sometimes we can start thinking about things that might not help us. So let me explain. So if you realize that you're like a tiny ant compared to like a human being, which is not even a good comparison, you're much less than that compared to God, then imagine you created an ant and you wanted the ant to do well for itself, and you told it a few things, and then the ant decided to be over, and you told all the thing told the ant all the things it needed to or was capable of understanding about the human beings or the god human being or something. Hopefully this makes sense. So imagine ant is your creator, you are a god of sorts, okay, like a human god or something, and you created the ant, and you tell the ant in your own special way, you communicate with the ant saying, this is everything you need to know, here's a book and all the information you need to know in ant language. And then the ant decided he wanted to find out all sorts of stuff that wasn't particularly in that book, even though, and then the ant started, I don't know, doing backflips or something, and I don't know, fell off the leaf and died. I don't know. I'm just saying, probably explaining really badly. I probably need to kind of practice this one, but there is some stuff that won't make you happier, and God has pointed out all the stuff that you are capable of understanding and that you need to understand and that is useful for you. And I'm not sure if knowing anything beyond that is going to help you. Like, are you even capable of understanding what God does besides the universe, which is a pretty big deal by itself? So that's what I kind of assumed by the question. Please, this is supposed to be, a chat, casual chat. You can tell me otherwise, if I'm misunderstanding your question, or if it's not even your question and you want to just say something, please do. 46. Wow. I think it's time for the next question, next bit. Does he have I'm going to give like really quick answers. What's it like where he is? I don't know, but God does say in Islam and Judaism and Christianity, maybe other faiths, that we are an image of God. So what that means is that there is some likeness, that we can understand some of the emotions of God. So we can understand in a very limited way what God feels. So what's it like means how does God feel about his situation, I suppose. And so he likes it when, people do good things, because that's what the Quran teaches. Like, he's really happy when people do good things and stop doing bad things. Does he have friends? Well, he says he's the only one. God is the one. That you find that in lots of religions, actually in all religions originally. That's fascinating, actually. Even in Aboriginal religions and all these other things, at their source, they started off with one God and eventually go into many gods sometimes. What are his amusements? What does he do for fun? So God does seem to like us doing well. So that's how much I understand. So that'll be all I've got to say about that for now. Hopefully that somehow helps. You might be wondering, and I kind of wanted to explain in my already very long intro, was like, how does that help you find happiness at all? What's that got to do with happiness? Well, when you know your place in the universe and you understand who God is, like, it kind of is, if God exists, which I'm saying probably must exist logically, then it's kind of really important to know something about God, so you can find the right direction in life. And again, God is your creator, so you kind of want to know like what your creator wants from you and all this kind of stuff. So knowing stuff about God is gonna help you, and statistically, people who believe in God are happier. So there's all sorts of reasons why that is helpful. So really, we are done with that, and we only have one more topic, and that's about loss. So let's get rid of this one. And we're here. We don't need to spin the wheel. We are going to be talking about how do we handle loss in our lives. What do I mean by loss? There's all sorts of loss, but a friend of mine whose dad passed away a year ago, he asked this question. So he's talking about how can we learn anything from losing a dear one, somebody we love, like, a dad, mum, brother, sister, whatever. Okay, so let's quickly talk about that. Let's quickly do the quotes, maybe really fast this time. Islam, what does that say? There's a verse of the Quran that we're supposed to, say when we hear somebody dies, and it goes something like, to God do we belong, and to God will we return. So kind of, just saying that this life is temporary, we're all going to go back to God eventually. And even kind of to some extent is implying that we're all going to meet up again. So this is not the end. It's kind of comforting. And is that logical? We can talk about that, to believe that or not, but I'm just going to quickly go through the quotes. Christianity, I'm not going to post them in the comments because it's going to take too long. Christianity says something almost identical. So in Islam, it was, to God do we belong, and to God will we return. And Christianity, you have in, I think, Genesis, that's part of the Bible, for dust thou art. So let's use modern English. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. So very similar words, but one was focusing more on you returning to God, and the other one is saying kind of you're going to go back to the ground. Both are true. Buddhism, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live, which is awesome. I love that. So death is not such a big deal. And so if you can get to a stage where death is not a big deal, and maybe just a stage or something, then maybe that helps us deal with the loss of a dear one. But I mean, we haven't really talked about how we learn anything from it. I suppose we can learn something from that by itself. But anyway, the greatest loss is what dies inside of us when we live. So sometimes we don't really live up to our own expectations, as a way of saying that thing in Buddhism. I've got something from atheism as well, just lined up. I think that's a lot of fun, and we're really running out of time. But let's go for it. Always. Okay, I'm going to not do the second Buddhism quote. Running out of time. Judaism says, no man lies at death's door. That means when you're about to die, you don't lie, which is really cool because there's some famous stuff relating to this. So there's a nurse who used to work, or her job was to take care of people who were about to die, and they would tell her all her regrets, like, I wish I did this and that, because people just, like, there's no reason to lie anymore because you're at the end of the story, as it were, for your life. And so that I'm going to get into that really quickly. Atheism, what does that have to say about it? Obviously, I'm not a religion, but you can go to all sorts of famous people. I was watching a movie today called, I forgot what it's called, and it's a quote I took from it. Embrace the fact that nothing matters. So then the other character said, so one character says, embrace the fact that nothing matters. He's saying, just get used to the fact that nothing matters. There's no meaning. And then the other character in this story said, so what does it all mean? And then the other character said, character A, we kind of have no choice but to live. So my best bet is to learn how to suffer existence. You just have to find peace. Yeah. So that's interesting. It's like, it doesn't matter, nothing matters. You just have to deal with life, however difficult it is, and maybe find peace somehow. There's some other really cool quotes, but I'm going to miss them out. And I'm going to jump to the science quote. So what do people who are really good at understanding how people's brains work I'm going back to psychologists when I want to go back to the nurse who takes care of people who are dying. What did she learn? So this would be like a science quote. And if I was making a category, I did Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, atheism, and what does science have to say? Well, one thing is that people who are dying would say, I wish I had the courage to live life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. So I think that's so important if we're going to learn anything. Don't live a life that other people expect from you. People just behave in ways that they have dreams and they throw those dreams away because they think, maybe they'll fail and then people laugh at them. And so that's kind of living according to other people's expectations, but not living life like you want to. So it's kind of, you need a lot of courage, and that's what these people are saying. I wish I had that courage to be able to do that. I'm just going to say one more, two more. There's a couple of things that all these dying people would say. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So basically, I wish I didn't spend all my time making money, because I think they don't mean like working hard to help humanity. It's a different kind of thing. And number three, I just quickly put three down. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. So that's a major problem that people suffer from today. I was listening to a psychologist yesterday. All that people do nowadays is they send WhatsApp messages to each other with emojis and stuff, and that makes people really depressed deep down if that's all they can do to express themselves. So let me go on. If you've got any questions about this, I'm going to actually talk a bit more. So what is it that we can learn from those who die? So to what can you understand from "To God do we belong and to God will we return"? One of the lessons that all the many faiths teach is that because this life is temporary, and don't do everything you do in life because just to make money and things, because those things don't last you long. So there's a famous example of Alexander the Great, who at his time he pretty like ruled most of the known world, the world that people were aware of. And when he died, he was so deeply unhappy because he realized that he's not going to take any of this massive empire, all the money and all those things that he'd collected. And so he did something really strange. He said, when in my grave, let my hand stick out, to show people that when you leave this world, you don't take anything with you. So that was his final realization, the thing he realized on his deathbed. Yeah, and that he was really disappointed that he realized so late. So a lot of these spiritual teachings are talking about that it's all very temporary, what we do here. In Islam, for example, we're told to do something that might sound strange, but look at the person who has died. So say it's your dad who's died, you look and stare that person in the face, and you do that for the reason to remind yourself that you'll be dying soon. And also there are other loved ones. It's supposed to remind you of a lot of things that you might need to, like when you look at that person, now he's gone now, you say, did I do the best I could with that person? Did I say all the things I wanted to? Did I have a good relationship with him? Or was he just a stranger, really, I just talked to every now and then, maybe, and we didn't really talk about anything important to us? So by staring at that person, you really question your relationship with him. You question your own life. Like you see that person's died and you think about, what did that person do in their life? And then you say, is that person, would that person did that person have a happy life, do you think? Did he do all the things he wanted to do? Stuff like that. And then, are you living a happy life? So it's really helps you. Let me make this silent just in case. Forgot to. Cool. I'm getting a message about how the show is going, like a review already before it's finished. 2 minutes left. Okay, so yeah, it really helps you question your current relationships with other people, your other loved ones. It also helps you question your relationship with the person that died, and did you make your best effort? And so you can always improve on that by having a better relationship with the people who are still alive, and also question your own life. Like, you will be there soon. Maybe if you're really young, you might not think that, but I'm 40 years old, and I can still remember when I was like, I have memories when I was one, being tucked into bed when my new house at 68 Merton Road and stuff like that. All sorts of memories like that, and they were like a blink of an eye. So it took a blink of an eye to reach 40, and average man lives till they're 80 years old. So I've got one more blink and I'm gone. And I really do think that every day. And the last thing I want to say is, what does Islam teach about this particular situation? Actually, Islam teaches a lot of things. But one thing, because it's a short quote, it says, if you want paradise, then all you need to do is have fear of God. Now, that might sound really strange, but what is fear of God? Fear of God is not forgetting the big picture, which is there's a God, and he's going to take you back, like this quote says, to God do we belong, to God will we return. It's all going to end soon. It won't take too long. You'll be surprised. And, if you're constantly fearing God, as in watching over your behavior. So my fear of God is like, am I being a good person to other people? Every single moment of my life, that's how I feel. It's like how am I talking to this person? I mess up a lot as well, yeah, but I'm constantly thinking that. And I think if you do that, at the end of it, you'll be happy, I think. I did tell my brother I would quote this movie that all my cousins make fun of me for. It's absolutely beautiful movie, which is Meet Joe Black. And the most relevant thing about it is, so this movie is about living life to the full, but it's also about death, and are we happy with it at the end? Like, have we done what we thought we'd do? And the most powerful moment, I think, of the whole movie is pretty much right at the end. You can check it up, Meet Joe Black ending scene. And it goes something like, for me, it's really powerful. It's just a simple question. So this person knows he's going to die the whole movie, and then he's going to step over this bridge, and then basically he dies. He knows he just has to go over this bridge, and he dies. And he simply has to, and he's walking alongside the angel of death, which is Brad Pitt, and he simply asks the angel of death, "Should I be scared because I'm just about to walk over this bridge?" And he says, "Not a man like you." So hopefully you feel that maybe you shouldn't have that fear. Maybe you're pleased with what you did before the final moment. So thank you very much for listening. Peace be upon you. Have a great week. Thank you for being great viewers. I hope this helped basically in some way. Thank you. Peace be upon you.